we enter a little bit more into these 5 years in Mexico and trying to get a fast quest segment, let's say like this. So every question should be around 40, 60 seconds to respond. I ask always the same 12 questions to everyone. So it's a nice way of comparing between countries. The first question that I have, it's cultural adjustment. One thing that it took you a while to adapt in Mexico, or
Obviously, there's the language that still hasn't clicked yet. So there's that. And it's just more of a relaxed vibe. So when you learn Spanish, you learn that mañana means tomorrow. Mañana does not mean tomorrow. Mañana means someday. Okay. It means like maybe it's going to happen, maybe it's not. You're not really sure. So if you actually have someone come over to do work or to clean the house, they're like, oh, mañana. No, it does not mean tomorrow. It means that it might happen sometime in the future. So that was like the biggest adjustment because as an American, we're very into schedules and timing and like, if you make an appointment, it's going to happen at that time. No, like in Mexico, especially living in the smaller towns, you might run into somebody and talk to them for half an hour and then go to the appointment you're meant to happen. It's a lot more social and a little more laid back. I really think the motto of Mexico is relax, don't worry, tranquilo. They say that all the time, especially to Americans. They're like, relax, don't worry, no problem. Yeah. So as an American, you're like, but we're supposed to be doing this. You're like, no, it's okay. Yeah.
yeah, the layback.
Which is a great adjustment, trust
Yeah.
me.
Second one that I have is social life. How did you meet people, or how are you meeting people in Mexico right now?
Well, there's always a Facebook group, so that they have meetups through that. I tend to meet people just randomly, like either in stores or on the beach or on the street, because I am very friendly. So, and I like to make friends with business owners. I have a talent for that. So it's like, oh, what are you doing? And how can I help you with your business and things like that? So, yeah, so it's a little bit different. And there's always like you can go to yoga classes or spinning classes or the gym. When I was living in Chico, I had a group of friends that were in their 50s and 60s that went to the gym. So I'm like, yes, I need to be going to the gym, which I need to start again. But yeah, they were amazing. So we would go and be at the gym every morning, and then do things together.
You touch upon the next one a little bit already, language, but I mean, you said that it didn't click yet, let's say like this, but can you get around Mexico like without speaking Spanish actually?
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of people do speak English, and even if they don't speak it, they tend to understand it. But also, there's Google Translate. So, no matter what you were trying to do, you can usually have somebody help you. They're very friendly. And I found that, like in every country I've been to, people are very friendly. They want to help you. They want to, help you to get to where you're going. They're very interested in foreigners as well. So, I've always been met with, warmth and hospitality. So it makes it a lot easier. But yeah, no, my language pronunciation is just awful. And I do realize if I would have learned Spanish more going to Italy would have been easier because the languages are similar.
In languages tend to connect each other, let's say like this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The fourth one, it's cost of living on average, but also what it's cheap, what it's surprisingly expensive. How is the cost of living in Mexico right now?
Well, everything has gone up. I will say that everything all over the world has gone up since COVID and Airbnb took over the world. Like everything's gone up. So I would say what surprised me the most, like in Mexico City and also in Medellin, Colombia, because I was there for 6 months also, the rents have gone very expensive, in my opinion, because I've been traveling in Mexico since probably 2018 or so. And everything was much, much lower then. So the cost of things has definitely gone up. The rent, going out, cappuccinos are a little more expensive. In Italy, you can go and get a cappuccino at the bar for like uh 120, 150 euros, right? Yeah.
It went up also, like
Oh,
depends on, yes, yes,
it depends on the
unfortunately.
port you're in. Yeah. So and then here in Mexico, it's between, $3 to $5, depending on where you're at. So everything has kind of gone up, unfortunately, but it's still cheaper than the US.
You talk about rents and you move around the country quite a lot. So how is
Mhm.
the process of finding apartments and finding a home?
Well, word of mouth is always the best. Like if you know someone that knows somebody, that's always the best way to get a good rent deal. And that's how I actually found my first apartment. We actually went knocking on doors and asking people if they had apartments for rent.
Really? Like,
Yes, yes. That's always the best way, especially in Mexico. Like, you can talk to your barista or the people at the supermarket, be like, "Hey, do you know anybody that's got a place for rent?" And sometimes people will even approach you because, they know you're a foreigner. And then, of course, there's Airbnb and Facebook. Airbnbs are going to be more expensive, but they also have, like, in case the host cancels on you or something's not right, like, it's easier to get things fixed. Whereas if
mm,
you just choose a bad place, like, you're kinda stuck with it on your own. But yeah, like, word of mouth is always the best, I think.
makes sense. Next one, it's living like a local. I know it's difficult to do, but what is the thing that you use for blending in between the Mexicans? Let's say like this.
Right. I actually do tend to live like a local, and I'm around a lot of locals more than expats. So it's like you go to the mercado, which is the market, like, and it's a big open market. You go there and you buy your fruits and vegetables, your meat. I walk a lot, which I love. So it makes it very easy. And I like to take the colectivos, especially in the smaller towns. And that can be like a van, or it can sometimes be a pickup truck with like a tarp over it. And you just get in the back and you pay your 10 pesos and you go to where you're going. So the first time I ever took a colectivo, I was terrified because I didn't know I was going from Cancun to Puerto Morales. Because someone's like, you gotta go. And I was leaving that day and I did not speak Spanish. First trip to Mexico. And I was like, I thought they were taking me directly to the heart of the town. They dropped me off on the side of the highway. And I was like, where am I going? I was so terrified. So you do have things like that happen. But luckily, I found some people, and they're like, just stand on the side of the road and flag a taxi. They'll take you to where you're going. I was like, I didn't know that. So things like that do happen, and you're just like, oh my gosh. But everything always works out. It does. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
collectivos work like that. Yeah, definitely.
I know. I love them though. They're so amazing.
What about work life? I know that you are like working online, but maybe from connections or from your friends in Mexico, how is the work culture in Mexico?
I mean, depending on what you're doing, like there's cafes like I'm at right now, and it's a brand new cafe, very modern with great internet. And there's actually a lot of co-working spaces. So if you like co-working, they're all over Mexico. You can go there and work. So it makes it really easy. It's not hard at all. And you just find the connections, that you're looking for. So yeah. Um, I didn't work for most of the time I've been in Mexico. So that's kind of a new thing for me.
All right, let's jump then to the next one, which you touched already. The collectivos, getting around, like transportation. How is the best way to travel? Is it collectivos or it's like with bus or?
It depends on what city you're in. So if you're in Mexico City, they have a great metro as well as buses. The buses are amazing. They have their own bus lane, which I love. So it makes it actually easier getting around Mexico City. But if you're in the smaller towns, it's going to be either Colectivo or Uber or a taxi. Taxis are very common. When I was living in Zapolite, you had to pay for a round trip if you go from one town to the next because the taxis are not allowed to pick up people towns. Yeah. It's kind of like it's kind of like the mafia in small towns with taxis. It really is. It is because you cannot because if you're slow in one town, you can't just hop over and pick up people to the next town. So you can only take that taxi from that town to the next town, and you're literally paying for a round trip. So that was kind of different. I was like, why is it so expensive? And it's about $10. And I'm like, it's 10 pesos if you take the colectivo, but going on a taxi, it's like 200 pesos. I'm like, it's not that far. It's like 10
Mm,
minutes. But that's why. So that was a little bit surprising. But in a lot of the towns, you can actually walk. A lot of expats do have cars. I like not having a car. I have had scooters. So
okay.
I like having a scooter, like to go to the beach or drive around locally. I just don't use it like really busy or big cities because that terrifies me. But yeah, I never thought I was going to be in my is riding a scooter in Mexico. So that has been like a big surprise.
So nice. I mean, I'm
Mhm,
a big motorbike user, so I like that also.
mhm. It makes it
Next,
way
oh,
easier to get around and to park
yeah,
and stuff. It makes
absolutely.
it so much easier.
It's
Otherwise, you're stuck in
especially
traffic.
parking. Like, come on,
I
like this
know.
is how many
It's
times do you lose
great.
with a car?
I
It's
know.
ridiculous.
It's crazy.
The next one, I don't know if you touch it or not. Hopefully not. But healthcare. How does the healthcare system works in Mexico?
It's really good actually, and people are always surprised by that. A lot of places in Mexico, they will actually have a doctor attached to a pharmacy. Obviously, they're trying to, push the pharmaceuticals, but it's like 50 pesos. And I have gone there and used them, which it's about $2.50, $3 to actually have an actual doctor examine you. And it's not like a complete exam, but like if you're going in because you have a cough or your stomach's upset, which is common in Mexico, there are
Yeah,
digestive issues
spicy
there.
food.
No, it's the water. It's the
Oh, yeah,
water.
okay.
The water's not good, so you can actually pick up parasites quite easily. So you have to be careful in some places. But yeah, so it's like I've had amazing results with the doctors, even in the little pharmaceutical stands. And then they have really great hospitals and things here. They have the public and the private. So you have options. But I have found the healthcare to be amazing. And a friend of mine, her daughter, or not, I had a friend, her son was very sick in the US. He had something going on that they could never quite identify. He came down to Puebla, got him with a specialist. They're like, oh, it's because of your ear, it's because of this and that, and blah, 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 blah. And they fixed it like that. It was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. So the medical is very good. The dentists are very good too. Yeah, the dentists here in Mexico are amazing.
I mean, it's a common thing, not to do dental in Mexico if you come from the US or
Um, a lot of Americans only come to Mexico for the resorts. They don't go
okay.
outside of the
Yeah, yeah.
resorts. I unfortunately do not have great teeth. I have great skin and hair, but not great teeth. And so the dental is so expensive in the States. I started coming down to Mexico because one of my friends mentioned that the dental work in Mexico is so
Mm,
much cheaper. And so I did a lot of research on that. And I've also done, they call it medical tourism. And so I actually, when I was in Turkey, in Istanbul, I actually got my eyes and Invisalign done in
okay.
Turkey. So medical
Yeah.
tourism is a thing, and
Yeah.
it's really great because you can get high quality care in other countries,
Mm.
and then you can also like sightsee and do other things too. So it's nice.
Nice. So I have three
Mhm.
more. The first
Okay,
one,
perfect.
it's the one that everyone hates, but bureaucracy. How is dealing with paperwork, visas, permits, and all of that?
Oh boy. Okay. So that's funny because I'm actually applying for my permanent residency on Wednesday. But my technology skills are not great. So actually trying to even set up the appointment online was kind of challenging because they were telling me one site it was actually like a different link to go to, and then trying to make sure you have all the paperwork and everything on your downloaded. So yeah, so keep your fingers crossed for me. I'm hoping to get permanent residency on Wednesday, but I don't know. And they also like tripled the rate from last year. But
Well,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I was just like, what do you mean it's gone up like that much? Because I would expect maybe a little bit after the first year, but no, it's like triple. And I was like,
Okay.
boy, yeah. So there's surprises like that, and just like when I was in Turkey, I've had a temporary residency there also, and it was packed because people from the Ukraine and Russia and all over
Mm,
were trying to get residency. So actually Mexico has been a lot easier than that because even there you would make an appointment and then you'd wait for 3 hours to get seen, and you may or may not get seen by the right person. Yeah. And that's just part of living internationally and abroad, dealing with the visas and paperwork and make sure that you do have everything in order and that you put stuff in a safe place, which I'm not great with that either.
yeah.
Organization's not my thing. So yeah.
All right. Two more. The next one, it's the best and worst. What is the best thing about living in Mexico and what is the worst thing about living in Mexico?
Okay. Okay. The best thing is definitely the food and the people. Like Mexicans are so friendly and hospitable and very caring people. And the food. The food's amazing. You can get any kind of food you want in Mexico. Even living in small towns, you can get amazing international food. When I was in Zapolite, there is a European bakery, there is Italian food, great pizza and pasta, crepes, sushi, everything. And it was a very small touristy town. And the worst thing about Mexico is the water. That is my biggest complaint is the water because the water is not drinkable.
Eh,
And unfortunately, you can get very sick from the water and it's also very hard on your skin. But I'm like, if that's my biggest complaint is the water, like life's pretty good.
yeah. I mean,
Whereas
you can avoid it, no? Let's say like this.
exactly. I mean, Italy has amazing water, and you can tell the difference in the quality of the food because the food in Italy is so good. Like the fresh food, like the tomatoes and everything, they're so fresh because the water is so good. Yeah,
Mm,
you really notice the difference.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Last one, it's the top tip. If someone is planning to move to Mexico, what would you give us a one-line advice?
I would definitely recommend exploring different cities and towns to find your place because sometimes if you just read things online, it's gonna be different when you get there. I did a lot of research with a lot of different towns and, like, retirement places and expat places, and I would go there and I was like, I'm not feeling it.
Mm,
I'm just not feeling it." So the place I ended up was some place I'd never heard of,
okay.
yeah, and also look at a map and look at your geography because I wanted to, be in a beach town. Everyone's like, "Oh, Oaxaca, right?" And Oaxaca is a state and also a city. There's Oaxaca
Mhm.
City. So I ended up going to Oaxaca City, which is in the mountains. And I'm like, where are the beaches? And they're like, they're 8 hours that way.
Wow. Okay.
Looking at a map and knowing your geography is super important. Because things like that will happen to you because I did not look at a map. I'm geographically challenged also as well as technology challenged. So, things like that happen and you just kind of have to roll with it. You do. You just have to realize being in a different country, things are different. There's going to be surprises, there's going to be some setbacks. But just trying to maintain a good attitude and be friendly with people. That's really the best thing.
Nice. Perfect. Thank you so much for the overview on Mexico, Dina. That was amazing. I think the audience will love that.